Hello, Gravel Guru fans. I am Leland Danes, of course, and today I have a special guest with me. We are not quite in studio, but we've brought in studio Mr. Nick Legan. Nick Legan is the author of Gravel Cycling, a complete guide to all things gravel and bikepacking. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Leland.
Well, it is truly my pleasure. For those that aren't aware, Nick and I go way, way, way back to the very early days of Dirty Kansas.
Absolutely. You were my support crew in 2011, and I probably wouldn't have finished without you. And as it was a strong effort at 17 hours.
That's very kind of you to say. I was able to do Dirty Kansas myself in 2008 and then devoted myself to sagging for friends after that. And of course, Dirty Kansas is something you got to experience, but sagging is, boy, it was amazing for me. And we even got ourselves on a DK trading card, didn't we?
We did.
I was bummed not to see that. I thought that was going to be your author profile pic in here for sure. Dang it.
Yeah, nothing like a muddy me hugging you.
But we're here to talk about this book, not about our past relationship.
Romance.
Yeah, our bromance. I've got to tell you, when I first received this book, when I was checking it out, it was larger than I thought, and I don't know what I was expecting exactly out of the guidebook, but it was substantially weightier than I expected, and in the best way possible. That is not a negative. I was pleasantly surprised to see such substance in the book. Which means there's a lot to cover in there. Let's start with why gravel cycling? Why a book on gravel cycling and multi-day adventures?
Well, to be honest, I always wanted to write a book. I love writing, I love reading, and I was riding my motorcycle solo. I was actually blasting across I-70 to go back to Indiana to see my folks. And it just had this kind of a epiphany moment that I loved. You know, I was near the exit for Emporia, where I would have turned south. And I was like, man, I need to write a book about gravel. You know, what's happening in the gravel world is really exciting. And I think that more people should, one, get a chance to celebrate it in book form, and two, give others a way to inspire themselves to go out and give gravel a go. So that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was thinking about this piece. I mean, as a gravel enthusiast, of course, there's always new events popping up. There's always new things in the world of gravel and adventure cycling. So there is new material in here. But even having done a good majority of these events, I just found it nice as kind of a coffee table piece even. So even if I felt I didn't have a ton to learn from it, it was definitely a piece that I enjoy having and looking through. So whether you're just getting into the sport or even contemplating, what's all this gravel about, to I've been there, done that kind of a gravel cyclist who's been there for the past decade and a half, it's still a great piece to have regardless. So
Thanks.
yeah, it's beautiful. The other thing I noticed was producer Matt and I were talking about, so not only is it larger than we expected, but a lot of imagery. This is not a novel, if you will. Tons of information in there for sure, but very visually appealing as well. And I won't flip through here and try to show everyone on camera because you just need to go get your own copy, but lots of good imagery in there. Did you work with...
I'll press the publisher to thank for that, because to be honest, I only wrote the words, you know, and without them, the art director there, and the help of a whole lot of photographers all over the world, it wouldn't be nearly as pretty as it is.
Yeah, I do a lot of sifting through event photographs for all of our Dirty Kansas promotions events, and that is no small task, because these photographers are amazing, these places are beautiful, and it is difficult to find just the perfect image because they're all so good. It's hard to choose.
Absolutely.
Well, so let's get into this and tell me about what is the format? What are people going to find in this book? When I open this up, what is inside?
You know, it opens focusing mainly on single-day gravel events. And I say events on purpose because some of them are races and some of them are not. We want the book to appeal to competitive people as well as non-competitive people, or to give people of either kind of strain some variety. So we focus first on some single-day events. We have quite a bit of how-to in there, how to wash your bike, things to check on a to take with you on every ride, things to check regularly. And then we move into multi-day routes as well. So we cover things like the Great Divide, we cover the Denali Highway, but we also cover the Katy Trail. So the idea is that even multi-day routes, there's obviously big differences in difficulty level. So we wanted to make sure we had something for everyone. And then at the back of the book, we go into kind of dream builds and look at the bikes that people are using for bikepacking, for gravel riding, for mixed surface riding, how to modify a bike you might already have, or to have, some help in buying a new bike, or even building a custom bike. And then intermixed throughout the book are profiles on people who are doing, I think, really amazing things in this space, whether that's, legends like John Stamsted, the first guy to race the Great Divide route, or Lael Wilcox, who's still doing amazing things in ultra endurance racing and self-supported racing. So there's a lot in there, and I hope that a lot of people can come at the book from different perspectives and really kind of scratch the itch they might have.
Yeah, there's a lot of good info for folks, and you talked about the Franken bikes, right? That's what we like to call them, and I think that's important because gravel cycling and multi-day adventuring, it's not one thing. It's not this, here's the one bike you use and here's the one road you go down. You can explore this on just about anything you want. Now, is there some equipment better than others? Yeah. Absolutely. Some is better than others, but you can go out and explore and learn from that experience, learn what you need to change, and you can take that same frame that you have and say, okay, can I get some wider tires in there, or how can I get better mud clearance, or do I need a taller cassette, for grinding it out, that kind of thing. So I appreciated that section in the book.
I think what's cool about gravel too is its localism. The bike that you would ride, or certainly the tires you would ride at, say, Dirty Kansas, are really different from what you would need at Gravel Worlds. And we try to explain that in the book. So we talk to all of the event organizers, as well as past participants, and in many cases, past winners, to kind of give you a leg up if you're going to one of the events in the book for the first time.
Yeah, and you think about the distance from Emporia to Lincoln, Dirty Kansas to Gravel Worlds, it's 3 hours. But in the world of gravel, in terms of gravel surfaces, it's a world of difference, just entirely different terrain and riding. So. Yep. Well, you talked about the localism of it, but in another sense, it's global. And not that I don't want you to get the impression I underestimated your book, but it was full of surprises for me, because I expected to see primarily North American content. But you have found plenty of events overseas. And so tell us a little bit about some of the international stuff you've got in here. International for us being in America.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's easy for us to get a little centered on the fact that the Midwest, I would argue that the Midwest in the United States is kind of the heart, is the home of gravel racing. And it's people and events and brands even in that area who are behind a lot of what's going on now. But it's certainly all over the U.S., all over North America, and far beyond. I mean, in fact, the cover of the book is a photo from the Black Forest of Germany. And what I love about it, in a way, is that it makes a good cover because you don't know. It doesn't say Germany all over it. Mm-hmm. It could be California. It could be Utah. It could be, all over the world. But yeah, there are events in there from Australia, all over Europe, so Spain, France, Germany, the UK. Paul Arrington's Dirty Reaver is in there. And it was a real joy. I mean, to be honest, I have not had a chance to do every event in the book, but it's becoming quickly for me a bucket list.
Well, that was one of the questions I had for you, was have you completed all of these? And I couldn't have imagined that you had, because as you just mentioned, when I was looking at the gravity of all the events in here, and when I was learning about new events, particularly some of these internationally, that's exactly what I immediately thought was, boy, this is a guide for my cycling bucket list. This truly, this has inspired me to get out and explore some new events and cross a few more things off the list. I'm very much an experiential person. As much as I love exploring my own back roads, more than a decade into this, you do see a lot of the same stuff and you think, oh, I wouldn't mind experiencing something new. You've basically done all the research for us, and so I don't need to really go anywhere else everything I've read in here says, hey, what is Nick telling me to do next? That's what I want to go do. So
that it's not in any way a comprehensive list.
Sure.
I very much can choose. And what's cool is that there are more events popping up all the time. I was just at JP's Gravel Pursuit in Idaho, had an amazing time, and honestly just didn't have space to put in the book. And there are a lot of events like that. So
we can expect updated revisions in the future, right?
We'll see.
Volume 2.
I would love that. But
yeah, absolutely. I know this is a tough question to answer, but it's got to be asked. So since you've admitted you haven't been to all of these just yet, are there one or two that you've really got in the back of your mind as this is feasible and this is what I want to cross off the list next? Are there a couple of events in here that you're just itching to get to?
To be honest, yeah, the one that rises above for me, and I need to preface it by saying that I have a degree in French. I've lived in France. I love France. La Resistance in Annecy is top of my list. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I haven't had a chance to ride much in that area. Two, it's on gravel roads, my favorite roads. But also three, they've added a bikepacking component to it. So the idea is that you go out on a route that they've designed for you and you're self-supported for the first 2 days. You return to Annecy, and then on the third day, you join the one-day event that a lot of people are signed up for as a standalone event. And that just sounds like a great time to me. So
absolutely
feasible. I definitely have to save my pennies and dimes, but it's top of my list right now.
Nice. Well, I couldn't help but I speak a little bit of Spanish myself, and so definitely have a desire to get to Spain and was excited to see a route in Spain. So maybe we can just hook up and we'll go knock both of those off the list together and
why not?
Have a great trip. Well, Nick, thanks for taking the time. We'd be remiss in leaving out where folks can get this, because I'm telling you, guys and gals, if you were thinking you didn't quite need this book, you were flat out wrong. I was just so taken aback at how wonderful this book was. So, Nick, tell us where folks can find this.
I'm selling them myself at Rambler.com. That's RAMBLEUR.com. It's right there on the homepage. You can get a signed copy. You can get an unsigned copy. That means it's a new book. I actually joked about charging less for a signed copy because that's basically a used book. But anyway, head to Rambler.com. You can find it elsewhere on the interweb or at discerning bike shops and bookstores.
Yeah, Nick's too humble to say this, but if you go to Rambler.com, that's your best bet because it supports Nick in the biggest way, supports him directly. So would highly encourage folks to go there. Very easy process. You want this book. It's only $25, very reasonable, and you will not regret it. So Nick, thanks for joining us. Look forward to hearing more from your adventures, and definitely looking forward to writings on these events as you go out and experience them and cross them off the list.
Thanks, Leland. Really appreciate it.